Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session. We all know that the amount of events is increasing constantly, and so is, of course, recently the amount of digital events was kind of exploding. And this involves that also the thing that we call event experience is perceived from a completely new, different angle. And how to define or what factors actually define a good virtual event. This is what I want to discuss with my guest today, with Monique van Dusseldorp. And Monique has been in the event business since more than 20 years. And if you ask me, she has a really exciting job because it includes to visit a lot of different events. And Monique is a curator, or she calls herself a curator of seminars and conferences on creativity, innovation, and technology. So I am really very much looking forward hearing from her what her perspective or her perception of our industry is right now.
PIRATEx Deep Dive. All things remote events.
So welcome, Monique. Hi there. Happy seeing you.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hello from Amsterdam.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you're based in Amsterdam. How is life over there? I guess it's usually a very buzzing city, but now probably quite quiet.
It's very quiet. We have a curfew, a night curfew since this week. There's lots of things going on that make everybody very unhappy at the moment. So, but like anywhere, it's a strange time.
It's a strange time. Monique, I already said you call yourself an event curator. Can you tell us a little bit more, like what exactly that means?
Well, in normal times, so before 2020, that would mean that I work with my clients who want to organize something, and they ask me, okay, Monique, we have some general idea, but maybe you can help us decide which are the most interesting topics of the day and what speakers should we invite. And then I would start my work and research the topics, research the speakers, invite them over, and then work on getting a beautiful conference program together with a nice rhythm, with a lot of, from beautiful speakers, very smart speakers, very funny speakers. So putting together the program of an event has been the work I've been doing for many, many years. And in Germany, for instance, I've been working for 10 years with the people from Next in Hamburg, organizing the Next conference on the Reeperbahn, during the Reeperbahn Festival, where we discuss all the new digital developments. And I do that for a number of clients. Of course, everything changed in 2020.
It did. Monique, before we're hopping into the topic, I usually start with a quick one or the other game, just to give our viewers a more personal impression on you. So you're ready for this? This is just no explanation, just one or the other.
I'm completely unprepared, so go ahead.
Okay, sweet or salty?
Salty.
You go for beach or mountain?
Ooh, difficult one. Beach, I think. No, mountain. There you go.
Mountain.
Yeah.
Reading a book or watching a movie?
Reading a book.
Okay. And when you look at conferences, you're more the inspiring keynote kind of person or interactive workshop kind of guy?
Tough one. I like the nitty-gritty of what people have to tell me, but I also like to just sit there and listen, strangely enough. I like that.
So to make it more precise, speaker or listener?
Well, yeah, okay. You got me there. Speaker,
Obviously speaker. You're with me here today, so speaker.
Yeah.
And the last one, you go for beer or wine?
Oh, wine. But I'm not drinking at all at the moment, so wine, nothing.
Honestly, in the gray...
For now, nothing, yes.
The gray month of January, no alcohol.
Exactly.
Tough one. No, but Monique, let's hop into this. So you, as well as me, come from the physical event industry originally. You just said that.
Yes.
You have been visiting a lot of events. You're participating in a lot of events. Do you miss it? First question.
Oh, I miss I miss everything like everybody else. But strangely enough, what I miss is just getting out of the house and taking the subway and cycling to a meeting. Strangely enough, I miss the in-between times even more than the event itself. But absolutely, I miss it. Yes.
Yeah, a colleague of mine just recently told me that she also had to go to a lot of events in her prior job, and she's like, "Yeah, actually, I'm not missing it that much because I enjoy it to really get the content and get the insights in a comfortable way from home." So I think it depends a lot on your personality as well. But if you look at the change that we went through this year, how would you say, how do you perceive our industry right now?
Well, it depends a little bit how you define the industry. I mean, I know a lot of people who worked in the production of big events and the design of, flows of people and stages and lights. And I mean, that part of the industry crashed. And a lot of these people are struggling, and a lot of these companies are struggling. And there are some very creative, innovative things going on. So, you see true entrepreneurship in these quarters, but, everybody there is just hoping that industry comes back. But if you look at my side of the industry, which is getting ideas and speakers together, giving them a stage, finding an audience for them, that actually has not stopped. So there's a lot in my side of the industry. There's a lot happening, and the things that are happening are all over the place. There are from 100,000 people viewing a session that used to be only for 6,000 people to really small 25 people conferences, events with speakers on 3 continents. So, I actually enjoy this part of the industry because there's so many new things happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point to differentiate between the production of events and bringing together the content or curating the content for an event.
Yeah.
Monique, you also kicked off a newsletter. I am a big fan of that newsletter. It's called, for you out there, you can easily find it. It's called Van Dusseldorp's Future of Events.
Yes, Future of Events on Substack, the new toy.
Give us some insights. What was the intention for you bringing up this newsletter? Like, what message you want to bring across? And any clue of how the future look like by now, might look like?
Well, I mean, the idea was to, there's so many things happening, and I'm convinced that digital events are here to stay, and that they will take very different forms from what we think of in first instance. So this exploration of all these things that are happening, and also, what is happening in the game industry or in the remote work tools or in teaching and education, and how all these things are also coming back into this, small corner of the world that we, call home, our event industry. I think that's super interesting. And when things explode and when things happen, it helps me to just write it down and say, okay, I've got this faint idea, let's find some examples. And that's what I'm doing right now. And also, it's a way to share my thoughts and hear from other people what they think. So, I'm enjoying myself there.
Yeah, and that's what you bring across with the newsletter, because when I'm reading it, it helps me as well to look outside of my digital event conference bubble and rather also look at it from different angles, as you just said, when looking at education, when looking at the joyful things like concerts or so on, where we have a lot of new options generated during the last year in the digital version as well. But when we look at events like the classical event conferences and then look at it from the organizer's perspective, I mean, you're more joining it as a participant. But then
I've also, last year, I have a number of really loyal clients. I always every year have some, random clients that come in and need one event fixed. And I also work as a moderator of events. So last year has been an incredibly busy year. So I've also been part of the teams of around 20 events that we organized online. So I'm not, not organized, but together with other people. And you find out, that a lot of things really don't work.
True.
And, or that work completely differently from what you imagined, and that in many ways you have to pull the original idea of the event apart and try to decide, what is this, and what does this mean in a world where we can't get together? And it doesn't necessarily mean let's book 3 days on an event platform and invite everybody and put our speakers online and add a little chat and we're fine. I mean, sometimes it works, but very often it doesn't.
Totally. So that's, I mean, we're talking about this unbundling vision or version of events a lot. And I think, yeah, it's super present because I think we can agree on that the learning curve among event organizers, how to do digital events was quite steep in the last month, because we everybody started to realize that it's about this fact to really differentiate between, okay, what do we have to get rid of, what is not possible to transfer, and what can we even do better in a digital setup, which is super interesting. And I'm just a little bit worried because when looking at it from the participant side, it feels like that the mindset or all participants and organizers said that the mindset is positive of making use of these digital offers, but on the other side right now it feels like that when it comes to the willingness to do this, like in a what do I want to say, that the willingness to participate in a more private way or in a more personal way is actually decreasing. So
the last thing anybody of us needs in life is not a Zoom call. I mean, there's, this exhaustion from staring at the screen is huge. And I also think that, if we take all the digital tools and then think, okay, even if you have everything organized perfectly, you can have a brilliant event and still you miss the experience. And I think the experience side of things, where you go to an event, not so much to listen to one particular talk or whatever. You go to an event to walk down the Reeperbahn and see some music in the evening and meet friends and have a drink with them, wine and whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons to go to an event, and they're not they're not the part that I organize. They're usually everything around it. So I think what will happen is that in future we see a lot more experiences combined with digital events. For instance, there's one really small event that I truly enjoy. It's a local chapter of the House of Beautiful Business. And what they organize now is a monthly walk where we all put on Zoom. It's a group of strangers and some acquaintances and some people I know. Mm-hmm. And we do a discussion while we walk. So there's a dilemma. There's somebody who sort of moderates the conversations,
while
but you're
walking.
not inside. But you're not inside. You're outside. It might rain. The sun might shine. But you walk. It's a way to get away from the screen and at the same time be part of a conversation. In essence, I think Clubhouse and a lot of other audio tools that are now springing up allow for us to do the same thing. Be part of an event, but still feel the air in your face and see something. Yeah. And funnily enough, the fact that you can look around helps you to concentrate what you're listening to. So I think, I've done a lot of moderating online events. I realized that there is something incredibly boring if you have to stare at one face all the time, like you all are doing right now. When I realized that you sort of need your eyes to move around a little bit to process the thoughts you are listening to, then I realized, okay, what I do as a moderator is I really actively promote the chat channel that is right next to the person talking. Yes. So you could say, oh, but that would be distracting, right? If people... No, it is not distracting because you keep your audience within the same bubble and they have a bit of room. They can sort of move around from one place to the other with their eyes, literally flicking their eyes around, but also to have, two channels at the same time, which helps them concentrate. So it's a strange thing,
But this is a really interesting insight that you say that, okay, also the as you said, like the buzzing surrounding all these other external sources that you actually need help you do not distract, but kind of help you to shape the experience.
Well, and if you walk around, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts while I walk around. If you walk around, it's the most concentrated time anybody now has, because you know, it takes an effort to pick up your phone and check your mail and Twitter and whatever. There's always something going on your other screens. If you walk around, there's no other screens. That's just the world and this voice in your head. I mean, it's very strong, strangely enough. Yeah.
Good one. I should start
trying.
So
it's a completely different kind of event experience.
True.
There was another example that I just bring it up because I thought it was such a brilliant idea. I wrote in my newsletter about this huge 20,000 people medical conference that you normally have in Amsterdam. And I know the people that organize it. So they had to do it all online this year, and 120,000 people turned up. So they suddenly, all over the world, there were people from the medical profession joining this online event and listening to. And then the guy who organized it said, this was great for this year. We discovered the audience is a lot bigger. I mean, all these people never could have come to Amsterdam, never could have accessed the event. Yes. And they always wanted to be part of it. Also, all the other years. And he said, well, maybe, we just should rent out holiday parks and get those people to join together with the family. And then they, have local event hubs where, a few hours in the day, you watch the screens together with some other surgeons. And the rest of the time you have an experience. So I think the experiences around events will be interesting.
Yes, totally. Yeah. I had a previous speaker on this podcast, and he was also telling me that maybe the Turing Fest in Scotland, and they are part of like an entire. It's not an event week, but there's a lot going on in Scotland that week. So it's like the entire vibe of the city that actually boosts up the event experience itself. It's interesting how this will develop. But when we're looking at like the digital events as we know them right now, like the more classical ones, Monique, can you think back, when you look at 2020, think back of one that really flashed you, where you said that was an outstanding digital conference, and what would you say made it so special?
Well, as I said, I think when you organize something online, the content has to be super compelling. For your particular audience. That means what we do when we get together in a venue, you sort of mix up the topics and the speakers, and you broaden the appeal so that you have a room full of people with something for everybody. Online, it's much better to be razor focused and get the people there that you want to be there and connect them and make them feel part of a community. So, for instance, I was part of an event on online privacy and security, which I helped organize for a Dutch online publication called Tweakers. That's an audience full of nerds, programmers, coders, and a very specific audience. And this was an event on a Saturday afternoon. It lasted from 2 to 5:30, so quite long.
Yeah.
And we had a few fantastic speakers, I must admit. And we had 550 people turn up, and they stayed from the beginning till the end. And then later on, there was a questionnaire was sent out saying, what do you prefer? Next time, do you want to come join us here in Amsterdam again in a venue and so forth? Or do you prefer the online version? And over 65% said, I actually prefer the online version.
What?
So this, exactly. It's wrong to assume that because we enjoy this room full of people and the vibe and the stage, that everybody does.
Yeah.
This was an audience that was completely delighted with connecting to each other, asking questions to speakers, showing up, expressing themselves by saying, okay, this is our topic, these are our concerns, we want to be here. So that was super strong. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, but this is like, as you said, like looking at the target group, like who do you want to address? And for some people, as well as for some visions or some goals of event organizers, the digital setup is maybe just the perfect solution. So
But again, if you unbundle things, then maybe with the next conference in Hamburg last year, obviously we couldn't organize it. We did organize a weekly online talk show, and we published a book. Mm-hmm. So it's very strange to think, like, what is my event if everybody doesn't come together? Well, maybe your event turns out to be a podcast or a newsletter or a book. Yeah. So you have to completely rethink what you want to do and how you want to change the world and what this means for how you address your audience. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. When I'm thinking about next conference, it's like a big thing. And you have tons of content and tons of speakers. And I mean, in a lot of digital conferences, it's the same way because people don't have the limit of capacities, like when it comes to location, room, or so on. So they enlarge it. It's a lot of stuff happening at the same time. And you have to choose your own agenda, which is actually a good thing because you can really pick out the golden nuggets for yourself. Personal question, Monique. Do you have a specific approach of how to get the most out of such a content-driven digital event? Do you rather select by topics? Do you select by formats? Because we're always about to build a good digital guidance for participants, like how to filter. What is your approach? How do you get the most out of it?
Putting together the speaker program of an event for when you sit in a venue is completely different from when you do it online. In a venue, I think, you're stuck, you're there. You need to, first of all, really explain, this is important. We want you to be here. We think this is important for these reasons. And then offer a nice alternation between serious and fun, between in-depth. And, there's a rhythm that, takes you through the day of a in-person event. Mm-hmm. Online, people are not sitting in front of their screen for hours. So they dip in and dip out of, events. They go away, they come back, they will listen in the background. They're answering the emails that they are doing in conference rooms as well. So the distraction is everywhere. But so I think the focus on how near you can be to a speaker becomes very interesting. And it doesn't mean that everybody wants to chat or ask questions or, be visible on video. But people do like how close they can get to a speaker. And it's a different type of speaker where it's a different kind of interaction altogether, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, So the sending that you sometimes need from a main stage becomes much more conversational when you put it, this close in front of somebody. And I like that, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I see. So getting close to speaker, that's basically also your approach when you're doing it as a participant?
Well, as a participant, I really like sometimes to just listen and see what's happening. And that's an area where I think the online event space will develop as well and should do soon. Because right now, the only way to be part of an event is to see your name in the list of delegates, and then maybe there's a chat and you can respond, or maximum of interactivity, there's a poll or something like that. There is no more intuitive visual or audio way to feel present in the event. You basically feel alone. You don't have the feeling you're there with other people unless you raise your hand and start talking. So I think what we'll see is that you'll have more, you'll get tools to feel what the audience does or thinks or how it responds other than a poll. Yeah. So I think there's a lot to develop there as well.
Yeah, but the keyword is intuitive. That's a really good one. But you also said digital events have a lot of benefits if we unbundle them, if we focus on the right issues. I mean, right now we're more forced to use them, right? Yeah. Because we don't have another choice. Do you have any idea or any vision what will happen if we are allowed to choose again?
Oh, I think the digital events will stay there, and especially I mean, there was in my newsletter, there was a nice video of Bob Bejan of Microsoft, who was also saying, okay, there was this event that they would normally get 6,000 people to, and then hundreds of thousands of people can now join in. But he also said, these digital events become the network, the tool that we use when we start to organizing the physical event again. We know more, we have more connections, they're incredibly important to find your audience online who are interested in this and might simply not be able to travel the globe to go somewhere. So that will happen. And I also think there's something else going on. I fear that, this COVID-19 is not going away anytime soon. So working from home and being quite isolated behind your screen is going to stay. And also a lot of companies are discovering that this is actually fantastic. You don't need an office. Yeah. So we can cut down on costs and everybody works from home. But how do you then get people to, know each other, like each other, be able to work with each other? There's a Dutch company called GitLab, which has been a remote company from the start. So they never had an office. Mm-hmm. And their founder said, the one thing that's super important is once a year, we take everybody who works from us to a country, city, somewhere in the world, bring them together and have a fantastic week together. And then we're good for the rest of the year. So I think there is going to be a whole new type of event, really popular, where you just have disparate remote workforces that really need to get together sometimes. And, that's events for you. Differently organized, different bundle, but still they're events. Yeah.
True. Yeah, as you said, COVID probably won't go away that fast, and we probably have to find a way how to simply live with it. And I honestly enjoy a lot of these developments as well. Of course, the positive ones, obviously. Monique, I asked this question. I now take this as my closing question, because my actual closing question, are remote events here to stay? You already answered plenty of times by now. So the other thing that I ask a few of my guests, mainly because I'm hoping that some developers out there are listening to this podcast or this deep dive session and maybe get some new solutions for us into the market. So Monique, if you could make a concrete wish, like a technological, innovative wish for the digital event industry, the more precise, the better, what would that be?
Well, I've got one super practical one, and that is right now, whatever platform you use, and there's so many platforms right now. I mean, we all know Zoom, but there's a lot of other event platforms as well. Whatever platform we use, it tends to have a horizontal screen. It tends to be television. It's the screen we know from cinema and television. Mm-hmm. And I think TikTok has it right. We need vertical screens, because if you have a vertical screen, you can see me moving my hands. And it gives us a better idea of who somebody is. And we don't want to be completely remote like this, but we want to be vertical. So we have a little bit more of, what it means to talk if you talk with your hands like I do. And
I love this. This is a good one.
Yeah. And also if you have vertical screens, people are aligned like this. So it feels more, feels more appropriate. Yeah. So that's one. And the other thing, I'm super interested in what's happening in the field of, because I like to follow these topics in the field of computer vision and so forth. Now, if we have all the tools available to us to interpret people behind their screens, surely there must be a way to, in a safe, anonymized way, of course, but to bring back some of what the audience for a speaker, for instance, is experiencing in a visual way back to not just the speaker and the organizer, but to the other people in the audience. Mm-hmm. I mean, right now, there's some really cool examples. I don't know if you know the platform OJ is a New York company where you can, if you click on the hands, you can actually hear an applause.
Nice. But it's like a sound machine.
Yeah, it's like a sound machine, but more like an automatic, the machine senses what you feel and you can feel that reflect back. Just because I so much love when you when you walk into a conference room and I walk on stage, you can feel the audience, you can feel them. And that's what we miss online.
Yep.
We miss it.
I'm with you. I'm missing it too. I belong to the part of the people who really miss it too. Well, but these are some really cool wishes. So please, if anybody hears this and can implement this for us, go for it.
Stop with this vertical screen. It shouldn't be so hard, right?
No, true. This is a really good one. Gets you much more, in a more appropriate, as you said, more appropriate version. Monique, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. It's really exciting. And for you out there, I think it felt like 2020 was already crazy, but I have the small feeling that 2021 is getting even more crazy. Yes. So we'll follow your I will keep reading your newsletter to broaden my horizon, and you should do that as well. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Monique, and have a lovely day.
Thank you, and good luck everybody.
Bye bye.
PIRATEx Deep Dive. All things remote events.